The win to Amato, his 12th career NHRA national title event with an ET of 5:176 to LaHaye's 5:186. And we now are about 30 minutes away from joining you live at 10 o'clock Eastern Time from Indianapolis Raceway Park for the Hardee's Racing Series tonight, featuring the USAC Jolly Rancher Midgets, part of a 9-week series. This is the 7th race. Next week again the Midgets, and in 2 weeks the Sprint Cars. Join us with Steve Chassie, Brian Hammonds, and Gary Lee coming your way at 10 o'clock Eastern Time tonight.
Welcome back to the USHRA Association Tractor Tire Mud Bog Drag Racing, sponsored in part by Four Wheeler Magazine. Pick up your copy today. Earlier, Margot King had a chance to talk to the man who's considered to be one of the top mud makers in the country today.
Parts is parts, but mud is not necessarily mud. And according to Sam Parker here, Dr. Mud, he makes tracks different at every facility. Why is that, Sam?
Well, we've been doing this for the Hot Rod Association about 10 years, and we study all the vehicles to make it equal across the country because the dirt's different, the vehicles are different. And so you have to study the bottom and the sides because you have 2 different classes, sometimes 3 different classes, and to make it fair to where they all can have a good competition, you have to really study. It's just not throwing dirt in a building and throwing a little water in and mixing it up.
Now we've got the tractor class here today. Now, how did that make the track building a little more difficult for you?
Well, you have to make a sheer wall to keep them inside, and you definitely have to make it deeper. Yeah, they've got about 3.5 foot of mud here today, and they'll have to work for it. It's not going to be a cakewalk, that's for sure.
No, it's going to be more like a mud walk here.
That's right.
We call them the gym neighbors of Mud Bog Drag Racing Track Building. That's Sam Parker. This is the tractor class, over 44-inch tires. Look at this crowd. A lot of little kids coming out to watch the action. Coming up first, the psychotic beast, Mike Spina, the driver of Kingston, New Hampshire. It's a 37 Chevy Roadster with a 500 cubic inch Chevy engine putting out 1,500 ground-pounding horsepower. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a monster. It is both blown and injected. Psychotic Beast, Mike Spina, or Spina of Kingston, New Hampshire. Real wide tires. In fact, his tires are wider than most in this class. Margo, that could be the factor in a win here for Spina if he's to win tonight.
As tough as this track has been proving, the meatier those tires, the more advantage you're probably going to have.
Okay, 37 Chevy Roadster, 500 cubic inch Chevy engine, 1,500 horsepower. He pulls the pin. Here we go. Let's go racing. He launches beautiful, flawless run all the way through the mud bog. Complete run, no problems whatsoever. The Psychotic Beast lives up to its name.
And those big tires, I think, beat that mud into submission.
Yes, indeed he do. He really has the power to get through this mud. More water on the track makes it a little more difficult to get through, a little stickier. He's saying, get this helmet off. It got jammed down on my head. I can't breathe. Take a look back in slow motion. 2.56 seconds. Not too bad at all for the Psychotic Beast. Slipping and sliding through the mud. All the way through.
A shower of mud, even.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed he do. 2.56 for the Psychotic Beast. There's Mike. He's happy about that. Full-on collar and safety gear, which is required by the U.S. Hot Rod Association. The tech director tonight, Joe Quincarno. Coming up next, Tasmanian Devil.
Driven by Ed Mota from New Bedford, Massachusetts. During the week, he's a mechanic, and he has got quite a machine there. It's a 1970 Ford pickup body, an F-250, with a 460 Ford engine. And the rice and cane tires he's got on this truck look a little thin to me, Larry. I wonder what kind of problems he may be in for.
You know, they've got to be wide, and these are real high rice and cane tires used in rice and cane fields earlier. That's where they got their name. And he gets off the line, and the wheels going back and forth, one side to another, and that's it. That's as far as he gets. The wheels still spinning. He's not stopping yet. Oh, he's going to blow an engine. He finally stops, and that's all she wrote.
That combination just did not work.
Nope, did not get through. Tasmanian Devil, Ed Mota, New Bedford, Massachusetts. I don't know why they're not going to the wider tires. Here's a replay. 73 feet, 10 inches.
Well, you've got to remember that each week the conditions they face are different. And maybe for some track conditions, those tires obviously have worked for him in the past, but not tonight.
They are not working tonight. So that's it for the Tasmanian Devil. Look at the kids here. Boy, you've got a family crowd out to watch the action here tonight. Worcester, Massachusetts, the Centrum. So, the Psychotic Beast, so far, this is the Midnight Flyer. Dave Ray, the Psychotic Beast, a 2.56 clocking. This is Dave Ray of Placetown, New Hampshire, 86 Ford F-250, D&G chassis, 514 cubic inch Chevy, 1,000 horsepower, alcohol and nitrous oxide. Hold on, mother.
And we've got some big tires back on the starting platform on this machine.
Got to beat a 2.56 second clocking. He goes, and straight and right through it, and slams on the binder. A good run for this Midnight Flyer, Margot. Looks like we may have a new leader.
High horsepower in conjunction with those big tires again could be a winning combination.
Got up on top of the mud and stayed on top. Let's take a look back in slow motion. 2.32 seconds. And as our statistician, the lovely Cindy Landis, points out, that is the fastest time of the night for these 44-inch tires, or over 44-inch tires. So the Midnight Flyer goes to the head of the class. 2.32 seconds. There's a guy there on the left who's underwhelmed, isn't he? Kids around him are going crazy. He's just sitting there with his dark glasses on, wondering what all the excitement is.
It's the bright lights, and we're looking at John Lancaster while he's about to bump and grind with his Yokohama Express. Out of Kingston, New Hampshire, he's driving a 1971 Toyota Land Cruiser. It's got a 427 Chevy big block that puts out 1,000 horsepower. This engine is both alcohol and nitrous injected.
The Yokohama Express, John Lancaster from up New Hampshire way. Beautiful machine. It's a funny car, a 71 Toyota Land Cruiser. He's got to beat 2.32 seconds. Gets set. There he goes. Slow start, and then slows down in the middle, but goes all the way through. Not a fast run, Margot.
Never got the momentum he really needed to initiate the fast run that he was going to have to
notch 2.32 seconds he has to beat. Let's see what he does. It was not that fast. You could tell from the way he got off the line. Look back in slow motion. Again, slowing down right there in the beginning. Fighting the wheel a little bit. 3.23 seconds. My point is that is less than about 9/10 of a second. Less than 1 second slower than the fastest time. I'm telling you, the competition is extremely close here tonight. Not real happy about that, however. Takes the helmet off. And I think he knows, Margot, it was not that good a run. Okay, coming up next, the Bone Shaker. This is a machine that will live up to its name. Terry Coolbeth, the Bone Shaker. This is currently ranked #1 in the world in points for the tractor tire class, the Bone Shaker. It's out of Connecticut, Ford, Connecticut, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right for all our viewers up there in the beautiful state of Connecticut. It's a 79 Ford with a 495 Ford engine. And he says he knows how to read the mud. Look at those tires. There's a start. The Bone Shaker gets right down to it and goes through it. No problems at all. I don't know if he was fast enough to take over the Midnight Flyer time of 2:32.
I love it when they have their hat right there.
Yep, they put it on because they know the TV cameras are there. And a lot of people watch these shows, no question about it. Take a look back in slow motion. #1 ranked in the world, the Bone Shaker, 281. 2.81 seconds, not quite fast enough. Well, don't go away, because the last of the mud is coming up next, and then we'll bring out what this crowd is turned out to see, what a lot of folks have turned out to see, the monster trucks. So don't go away. We'll be back to the Worcester Centrum in just a moment.
Hi. I've been looking all over for this terrific video cassette I heard about. It's called The All-New Not-So-Great Moments in Sports. There's scenes where Daryl Dawkins renovates NBA backboards.
That's a fantastic video. The all-new Not-So-Great Moments in Sports is 45 minutes of the funniest film I've ever seen.
Great, so you have it.
No store has this version, but you get it free with your paid subscription to Sports Illustrated. You get 25 weeks of SI, including the Pro Football Preview, the beautiful swimsuit issue, the Summer Olympic Special issue, the commemorative Olympic pin set,
and the all-new Not-So-Great Moments in Sports?
You get it all. Just call Sports Illustrated's toll-free number, and you'll get SI for over 47% off the cover price. Just 3 monthly installments of $9.89 each. You can even use a credit card.
I gotta get to a phone. What's that number again?
Here, 1-800-777-2100.
Hi, have you heard of a video cassette called The All-New Not-So-Great Moments in Sports?
Burning, itching, cracking, peeling. These are the symptoms of athlete's foot that can stop you in your tracks. But Desinex actually cures athlete's foot and puts you back in the running. Desinex, the classic cure for athlete's foot.
Watch out. The wildest show on wheels is about to roar into your living room. It's the ultimate home video. Blood, sweat, and gears. Bigfoot takes on the toughest full-blown competition ever before facing his greatest test when Sergeant Slaughter and his battle battalion challenge Bigfoot to an all-out tug of war. So if you want gear-jamming, car-crushing, down and dirty action, get your credit card ready to order your video now. Call 1-800-351-1500. Blood, sweat, and gears.
We're back to the Centrum with the USHRA Association and Dick's Seatbelt Tires. You can't win without them. And coming up now, one of the baddest and most popular mud boggers in the world. It is called Spitfire. The driver, Len Wisniewski. And his motto, and he will say it, is, I'm bad, you know it, and I'm here to show it. It's a 1986 custom funny car built from the ground up to be a mud bogger. There's Len. It's powered by a 512 cubic inch Chevy Big Block, putting out, get this, 700 horsepower with a 400 horsepower nitrous oxide boost. A total horsepower on this machine of 1,100 horses. Woo! Dave Ray's Midnight Flyer is currently in first place with a clocking of 232, which would have got him second in the cut class. And this is Spitfire. Bright yellow, Margot.
And we saw the track crew member earlier hooking up that safety cable. Shut the motor off if he goes out of control.
And there he goes all the way through the mud bog. No problem at all. He gets it through. Let's check the clocking. Now, again, he's got to beat a 232. You can't tell if he's happy or not. Let's take a look back in slow motion. 2:35 seconds, 3/100ths of a second slower than the top time. That notches him a good, strong second place. Gets a little sideways there, Margot, right there.
Well, it's not a bad run, but I don't think we ought to tell him he's not in the lead.
At least not at this point. Coming up next,
Jim Doak, Beyond the Law. He's out of West Kingston, Rhode Island, and a construction worker. And what a classic body design is a 1966 Ford Mustang with the Chevy 351 cubic inch putting out 300 horsepower. I'm a little worried about that big enough horsepower to get through this pit.
okay, Beyond the Law, West Kingston, Rhode Island, a 66 Ford Mustang with those wheels. And there he goes, launching off, but not real fast. Kind of lopes his way through the mud. No problems. He gets all the way through.
Actually motors through, and you notice his strategy was to just kind of jump into the tracks of the vehicles that had gone before him. We'll see it in this slow-mo.
Look back in slow-mo. The clocking 3.58 seconds. About a half second. Check that. About 1.5 seconds slower than the fastest time. He gets through. So there you go with Beyond the Law. And an awful lot of mud caked up on those wheels. He's got to add 50, 75 pounds of mud at least on there. There we go now. Coming up next, this is the Grim Reaper. I like this machine. Rick Schmidt, the driver. He's out of Plainfield, Vermont. It's an 88 Chevy tractor. Obviously, it's not a tractor, but that's what he calls it. And the farmers in the crowd love it. The time to beat, 2.32 seconds. It's an 88 Chevy tractor with a 426 Chevy engine. He's a race car builder. 900 horsepower, nitrous oxide. Launches and then slows down before he gets to the finish. So the Grim Reaper does not pull it off. At least the speed looked awfully slow to us up here in the broadcast booth. He rolls through the mud. Rick Schmidt looking back in slow motion. Nope, 3.37 seconds.
What looked to be a good run just seemed to slow down about mid-track and just started to bog down there, slinging a lot of mud, but just not making good headway.
A little over 1 second. Not quite fast enough. Well, and coming up next, this is interesting. Darren Tibbetts, Margot, Something Wicked, coming up next.
Out of West Kingston, Rhode Island. He's a truck driver and farmer, and there we've got our U.S. Hot Rod sanction banner there.
Yep, this is officially sanctioned by the U.S. Hot Rod Association. This is Something Wicked.
Now look at this thing, a 1949 International pickup truck powered with a Ford 429 blown motor. Could be something wicked, that's for sure.
Here he goes, Something Wicked gets launched. Goes all the way through it. Not very aerodynamic, but he gets through it, gets the job done.
Looked like he was dragging his behind a little bit.
He's sponsored by Howard Johnson's, Collins Motors, and Tibbetts Farms. Darren Tibbetts, 49 Ford International truck. Look back in slow motion, 3.07 seconds for Something Wicked. This way comes. 3:07. The time to beat, of course, 2:32. There's another look at it. 429 cubic inch Ford engine. Coming up next, Preston Ward, his second vehicle tonight. This is called Mild to Wild. He entered two of them tonight. It's a 1987 Ford Ranger with a 466 Ford engine, putting out over 900 horsepower. He's currently 5th in the points, and he's got to beat the time, the clocking 2.32 seconds. Here we go. Gets up, stays in those ruts, fights his way through, scrambling, snarling, and makes it through. Looked like a sub-3-second clocking to me, Margo. He had really no problems at all for Mile to Wild.
And he had an advantage by running this track already once tonight.
Good point. Good point. Again, let's look back in slow motion. 2.76 seconds. It's less than a half second slower, but not quite fast enough. Mile to Wild. Beautiful paint job on that machine. Spent a lot of money on that. Spent an awful lot of money on that machine. No question about that. And this is coming up next.
Anyone who's done any racing can relate to this name, the Wrench Bender's Nightmare, driven by Ted Mozzotto out of Georgetown, Massachusetts. He's a shop foreman and has a school garage. I don't get it.
Well,
why did I say that?
I don't either.
It's a 1972 Chevy pickup with a Chevy 439 in it, putting out 750 horsepower. And he's running 70-inch tractor tires.
This is a first run with this motor in the new truck. The current standings: Midnight Flyer 232, Spitfire 235, Psychotic Beast 256, and Mile to Wild 276. And here we go with the Wrench Bender's Nightmare Chevy power. The time to beat, 2.32 seconds. Let's see what he can do. He's got the experience. This guy's been around for a while. Ted Mozzotto, Georgetown, Massachusetts.
And I said 70-inch tire tractors. That was 46-inch tire tractors. You didn't catch me on that, Larry.
Sounded awfully tall, Margo. It didn't look that tall to me.
Sounded awesome, huh?
Really? Okay, here we go. Launching off the line. Beautiful. No problem at all. Getting a little sideways, slowing down right there at the end. That cost him a little bit of time, but still a real clean run. Wrench Bender's Nightmare. A lot of money in these machines. It's getting to be a very sophisticated sport. Mudbog drag racing. The Wrench Bender's Nightmare. Look back in slow motion. Make no mistake, it is the Chevy. The two Chevy bow ties. 2.66 seconds. Less than a half second slower than the fastest time. Not bad for the Wrench Bender's Nightmare. Coming up next, the wild and crazy monster trucks. Don't go away.
When the people who run America want a good shave, they run to me. I'm Milton Pitts. And at my barbershop in Washington, D.C., you'll find more congressmen and senators than you can shake a stick at. Or should I say, shake a bick at. Yes, Bic. Bic gives these powerful folks a powerful good shave. Bic's the best darn shaver I've ever used. Ask George McGovern.
Milt, if only my campaigns were as smooth as your Bic. The Bic shaver. If it's good enough for Milton, it's good enough for you.
If you're looking for business news, you can get it from a Business Monthly, a Business Weekly, or America's leading business daily, the Wall Street Journal.
Call 800-372-3000 for this great journal subscription offer. 13 weeks for just $29.75 with a money-back guarantee. 13 weeks, $29.75. Phone 800-372-3000 now for the Wall Street Journal.
Welcome back to the U.S. Hot Rod Association's Battle of the Monster Trucks, sponsored in part by Kendall Oil, the exclusive choice for many of the nation's top drivers. The first truck out tonight was Lethal Weapon. Let's take a look back at it. Jerry Richmond, the driver, out of Ashtabula, Ohio. It's an 88 Ford F-350 long bed with a 466 big block Ford C6 automatic transmission, weighing over 6 tons, 12,500 pounds. Now, Jerry owns the Terminator 4x4, and I think he might have some experience here, Margo.
But he's only been involved in this sport for 2 years and already owns 2 monster trucks. But that may explain how come it only took him 8 weeks to build Lethal Weapon.
Let's take a look at what Lethal Weapon did earlier. Gets up, almost gets those rear wheels off the ground. The crowd responds well, but he's stalled there at the top.
Right, you can see the lights go off, the motor's stalled, but he gets it fired right back up.
Watch that rear window in that car. Blew it right out as he came over. 6 tons of Ford Lethal Weapon.
Now remember, these drivers' only challenge is to win over the crowd.
That's right. It's free-form competition. This was Lethal Weapon's second run. Let's look at this. Gets up, A little more air in those rear wheels. And he gets some air on that one. Yes, indeed, he did. Okay, the third run for Lethal Weapon. Let's see what he can do now. Comes up, gets air, all four wheels, comes up and slams down to the last cars. And let's see what the crowd said about Jerry Richmond and Lethal Weapon. He gets out of the vehicle now, and he waves, and there's the crowd response. They love him. Whoa, they love him in Massachusetts.
He definitely set the pace for this competition.
One more time. Let's look back in slow motion. Look at the rear wheels. Gets up, air, and that's awfully hard on a vehicle, Margot. When they come down, that's a 6 or 7 on the Richter scale. Okay, let's look now at Showtime. Brian Schell. He says, I'm a genuine Ford man from Detroit. A bright yellow 79 Ford Bronco with a 514 Ford engine, blown and supercharged, and weighs in at 15,000 pounds.
Now, when they call it Showtime, he means some show. There are 300 pieces of chrome on this truck, but I'm afraid he may be babying this engine just a little bit for us tonight. 3 weeks ago, he did $12,000 worth of damage to his motor.
He's slowing way down, Margot. He owns sky-high four-wheel drive. He builds other monster trucks, does super conversion, but he is going awfully slow. And I think the crowd realizes that too, Margot.
Well, the key in monster truck exhibitions and competition is to build a motor tight, break it in easy so it will last you the entire season.
Well, the crowd watching Showtime, Brian Schell. Look at all the chrome on that machine. Let's take a look back here. Take a look at him again where they're coming around, setting up. Going very slow. You know, the guy has built this machine himself. He's put a lot of his own time, a tremendous amount of money in it, and he's just not showboating. He's not going for the crowd. The crowd response is what's going to do it.
I don't think they're going to take that as a good excuse, Larry.
I don't think so either. He backs up now. Let's see what he can do backwards. Comes up, over him a little faster. In fact, a little more spectacular than going forwards. And he stops on top. And there's the crowd response. I don't think it's quite as intense as for Lethal Weapon, Marco. In fact, they don't look real crazy about him.
They're not throwing stuff, though. So
no,
yeah, that's a good
true.
sign.
They're not throwing things at him. That's good. Let's take a look back in slow motion now. Showtime, Brian Schell. Ford. But not getting the height, and that's what the crowd likes. They like to see these monster machines get up in the air, and he's not doing it. Well, that does it for Showtime. Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, Little Barefoot. And there's Little Barefoot Jr., one of the nation's top monster trucks, to compete in this freestyle competition.
Wrangler Stonewash jeans sure look great, no matter what you're doing. In fact, they even look good enough to wear with a nice silk blouse or a brand new tie. But you know what's so great about having Wrangler jeans on sale at Kmart? At $15 a pair, you can still afford to treat them like jeans. Wrangler Stonewash jeans, on sale through Saturday at Kmart.
What can you expect when you invest at Schwab? Ask a Schwab customer.
I'm looking for quick response and accuracy. I call Schwab and often get my market orders confirmed while I'm still on the phone. I like the fact that there's no sales pressure. For me, Schwab simply delivers good service, good value.
For a free booklet, call 800-237-4400. That's 800-237-4400.
The Saints have revenge on their mind. The Vikings await in a wild card rematch. New Orleans and Minnesota battle head-to-head on NFL Sunday Night Football, live on ESPN.
Kendall Motor Oil is a proud sponsor of the USHRA Association in the Battle of the Monster Trucks, and these are the monsters. And, Margot, this is what the crowd has been coming out to see. Little Barefoot, the driver, Barry Packard, and he's local.
And he's local, and it wasn't but a year ago, almost to this very night, that he was a spectator, sitting in the stands, looking at the razzle-dazzle of the monster trucks and wishing he could be down there driving one. And look at where he is now, Larry. It's hard to believe.
1 year ago, he went out, decided he wanted to buy a monster truck to start racing like they're doing tonight. And he is out here tonight. Little Barefoot, Barry Packard, 23 years old, from North Conway, New Hampshire. Look at this guy. Go for it. Look at the crowd respond. They love him. An 82 Chevy S10. It is blown and supercharged. A 460 Chevy big block putting on 900 horsepower. The machine weighs 12,000 2,200 pounds, just a shade over 6 tons, and here he goes again backwards. Boy, this is dangerous. You can get sideways so fast, Margot, and find yourself on your head.
And he wants to remind everybody that once he got involved in monster truck driving, that it's a lot more hard work than it really looks.
A lot more difficult than it looks.
That's right. He said he was drawn to it for the razzle-dazzle, but then once he got involved, he realized how much work it really was.
Now, speaking of razzle-dazzle, remember, the crowd will determine the winner, the person who takes home the check tonight. And the crowd response so far is on Barry Packard.
And with the show he's putting on in his own backyard, he could be tough to beat.
Barry Packard, been doing this for 1 year. Let's see what he does now. He is getting set for something. Coming around, he's locking up the right front wheel and is spinning donuts, Margot. Look at this. Good heavens, look at this. The right front wheel is locked and he's spinning donuts, and the crowd here in the Centrum loves it. They love this guy. And that is what is known as milking the crowd, Margot King.
And that was the name of this game. All they had to do was win over the crowd any way they could.
Okay, coming back up again on the cars. They've been flattened quite a bit already. Barry Packard coming up, lining up again. Let's see what he does. Look at the light show on the front of the grill of that big Chevrolet. He backs up to get a run at it. Let's see what he does. The crowd loves him. He's out of New Hampshire, been doing it for 1 year, and here he comes again. He's going to go for air, and he gets it. Straight up in the air and drops back down and stops on the top. There goes the hood starting to go up, and look at the crowd. They're responding to this. Look at that engine, a big, blown and supercharged Chevy big block engine, and look at him work this crowd.
He's pumped.
He really is. Look at him, Barry Packard. He's happy. Been doing this for 1 year. It is called Little Barefoot out of North Conway, New Hampshire, and he sits on top of the cars. There's a close-up look at that big block Chevy engine, blower, and supercharger. The hood comes back down, and there's his partner, the stuffed bear, the namesake of the vehicle, sitting next to him. That's a stuffed bear, Little Barefoot.
But he's buckled in.
Yes, indeed he is. Look back in slow motion. I believe this is where he goes for the air. Yes, indeed. Straight up and down, almost over backwards. Look at the wheelie bar on the back of that machine.
And the cameras are going wild in the crowd.
Great crowd tonight, no question about it. They love Barry Packard. Again, let's look at him now as he comes around. And the crowd is responding to Packard. They love him. Look at this. Look at the grins on their faces. Local boy. It always makes a difference. If you're from the area, you're going to get the crowd responding, and the other guys have got to put on that much of a show. Just make no mistake on this, young fans.
There's a fan.
Yes, indeed, who he's cheering for, Little Barefoot. Okay, so, Little Barefoot. And this is Goliath. And he is out of Warren, Ohio. The driver, the owner, Alan Tura, 31 years old. And the interesting thing, 2 472 cubic inch Ford big block engines. And I believe he's only running one tonight. He weighs 15,000 pounds. His brother Larry owns and drives the monster truck Hercules. This is Goliath. Margot?
Now, he loves doing things in multiples. He's got 2 engines. Then he's got 600 synchronized marker lights that are all over that truck.
Wow.
And then there's 10 steerable KC daylights up on the top.
These are worth around $150,000, these monster trucks. 2 engines. I believe he's only using one. He comes up on it. Flash bulbs go off, and he stops. Almost gets up there and comes back down off it. The crowd wants to see him go over it. Alan Tura. Some cheering, but not anything like Packard. A dual-engined monster truck. Goliath, Alan Tura, Warren, Ohio, 79 Ford. He gets set again. Here he goes. The engine running. In the rear of the bed. Gets all the way over, but nothing spectacular. Marlon, these people want to see him.
They want to see air. And after seeing the show that Packard put on, they're not going to be satisfied with just a little bit of, putt-putt.
No, not anymore. You got to hit that front car and launch yourself into the stratosphere. Here he goes. Well, he gets a little bit of air into those rear wheels and comes back down and stops. Now the crowd is getting with it. They're liking it now.
We've got to give him a little bit of credit because this truck is awfully heavy with those 2 motors, and he's not going to get the rear part of that that truck off the ground.
That's a good point, Margot. We didn't make note of that, but those engines weigh an awful lot of weight in that machine. There he comes up again. Comes back down and stops on top. Now the crowd responding. There, he's winning them over. But is he going to win them over Little Barefoot? There he is. Alan Turing does not look like a monster truck driver. He's short in stature, real enthusiastic young man. But
he's agile, though. He just jumped right up on the roof there.
So now it's between Little Barefoot and Goliath. And there's a cheer for Barry Packard and Little Barefoot.
President of the fan club there.
Yep. I think some folks feel that Packard has already won this thing. There's Packard extolling him to cheer him on. He wants the money tonight. He wants to win this one. And now the announcer asks him to cheer for Alan Turing Goliath. He goes back up on top, Margot. No mistake about it. Barry Packard, the driver-owner of Little Barefoot, takes home the bacon. There's a look back at him. Look at him. We'll be right back to the Worcester Centrum. Don't go away.
Some guys, they have it all. Some guys are just too vain. Some guys, they have a fall. Some guys get left out in the rain.
Don't wait for something good to happen. Make it happen with the clean, masculine scent of English leather cologne.
Some guys have what others want. Some guys have it all.
English leather. Some guys have it all.
If your car is trying to tell you it wants something, come to Kmart and get it a Swirl-On Mark II rotary brush for quicker, easier cleanup.
Nice car.
Want some more? Kmart, the saving place and more.
Ace waterproofing sealer is just $5.97 a gallon, and a Memorax 5 cassette pack is just $3.99 after rebate.
Hey, lots of good stuff here. All over. You can't miss it. Hey, let me tell you, Ace is the place for me.
So in the cut class, it was a midnight flyer with a 2.32-second clocking. In the tractor tire class, Black Bart with a 2.27, and the crowd loved Little Barefoot.
He's really turned into quite a showman, and to think that he's able to fulfill his fantasies, not many of us get to do that.
No question about that. So from the Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts, I'm Larry Huffman with Margot King. Thanks for joining us.